All right, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody here this afternoon for this press conference that we're holding here at the City of Elmira. First of all, I'd like to point out some people that are here today. First of all, from our Budget Committee, we have City Manager Michael Collins. We have our Chamberlain Charmaine Catan. We have our Deputy Mayor Joe Duffy from the 3rd District and our 4th District Council member Gary Bryn. We're all a big part of getting our budget around this past year. To say it was a difficult year is an understatement. So what we're here today is to respond to a news release which was sent out by the County of Chemung back on December 23rd. And we just wanted to point out some things that were not totally accurate. I don't know if everybody has a copy of this or has seen this. At the bottom of the news release to start off with, they start off with talking about the Department of Public Works and Buildings and Grounds and the relief that the county has given the city over the past 10 years or so. First of all, I want to point out that at the bottom of that page, it points out administrative expense relief of $8.2 million, which we found to be not correct. They base this off of a document that they sent us of all their department heads that are affected by shared services, which is purchasing, IT, buildings and grounds, and Department of Public Works. If you look at that document, what they are charging us for is the full cost of their department heads, 100% of that cost, which in my opinion is inaccurate, unless we are subsidizing the county's administrative staff over there for those departments. The next thing I want to point out is the second paragraph in the document about the county's health insurance, and we'll get into that further in the slide. Another thing that they list under other considerations in this document, they talk about the raises that we had given employees. Particularly, they were pointing out the Elmira Police Department. And one thing they don't point out is a couple things. First of all, the past several years before we negotiated that contract, Elmira Police Department only received 2.5% for those 4 years. On top of that, the county had given the deputy sheriffs a 20-year retirement, and then after that, the county opened up their contract and also gave an additional pay raise, which made them the highest paid police department in Chemung County. And I'm not here to, pit the deputy sheriffs against Elmira Police Department, but when we had to go and negotiate with them, we had to take that into mind and put our police department up on a pay scale that at least matched the deputy sheriffs, and not only that, that at least was competitive with the other areas throughout our area for police officers, because we were losing them to different municipalities like Ithaca and the state police. And then we also had Syracuse and Rochester trying to recruit some of our officers. So that's why we did those raises. Also needs to be understood that those raises were covered by the additional aid money that we received the past 2 years of over $500,000 for each year, which totals over $1 million in additional aid money that paid for those police raises. The letter then goes on to point out the city manager's salary. And I'm going to tell everybody here right now, the city manager does 2 jobs. Not only is he the city manager, but he also is the personnel director, which is saving the city of Elmira well over $100,000+ a year in that cost. They also then go after our city chamberlain, who basically deserves every penny that she gets by managing her office and managing our funds. And then in conclusion, they go into basically the sales tax issue and so forth. And then they also touch on the ARP funds, which they call us out for giving the ARP money bonuses to our staff, and basically try to say that we did not use our ARP money wisely, which I could not more strongly disagree. And with that, they didn't point out the fact that we gave the county $1 million of our ARP money. So those are the facts. Now we'll get on with the presentation. Thank you, sir. First slide. Okay, go ahead. Elmira has almost 39% of property in the city is tax exempt, okay? And that's not uncommon to other municipalities that are county seats. One thing that people need to realize, that in this city we do not get any pilots from these nonprofits. For instance, Ithaca gets a pilot from Elmira, or from Cornell University, plus Ithaca College. We do not get any of those pilots. So our 39% of our property tax in the city that is exempt, the taxpayers end up footing the other 61% of that bill. Next, please. Okay. Recently, the county had purchased the Five Star Bank right down here on the corner of Lake Street and William Street. That building was worth over $1 million, and it took over $24,000. Go ahead and hit the next one. It took over $24,000 in annual property tax from us. So that doesn't help. Let's get into the history of the shared services. Now, in 2014, Chemung County decides to keep greater share of the sales tax revenue. They're running into trouble with their budget because sales tax revenues were down. In 2015, the city of Elmira goes from receiving a split of 12.33% on a 50-50 sales tax split with the county to where we are today in 2025, where we receive 8.16% from a 65-45 and 34-55 split that the county splits with the city of Elmira and the other municipalities. So what does that mean? It means that our biggest two ways that we make revenue is sales tax and property tax. And if you take a hit like that with sales tax, it's going to have a big impact on our budget. And there is a handout, if you could. Is that the one? No, it's not the one. There was a handout that I gave everybody from the State Comptroller's Office. In 2017, they point out that when they did our audit here, that the county had started taking the sales tax from the city. And to offset that, they do point out the fact that the county government at that time, under the Tom Santulli administration, got into these shared services agreement to include taking us onto their health insurance to help offset that sales tax loss because they knew it was going to have a big impact financially to the city of Elmira. So where are we at with sales tax revenue today? The total loss of sales tax to date through 2025 is over $24 million, okay? So we're losing over $3 million a year right now in sales tax revenue based on this current split of the sales tax revenue. And I do want to point out that other municipalities in this state, such as Chautauqua County does a 50-50 split with Jamestown. Broome County does a 50-50 split with Binghamton. Orange County does a 50-50 split with Newburgh, New York. We're one of the very few counties here that split the sales tax in favor of the county in such a way. So in 2015, we did go into those shared services agreement with DPW, B&G, and health insurance. You can go on to the next slide. Go ahead. Yep. To help offset, again, that loss of the sales tax revenue. Let's fast forward to 2021. The county then decides to terminate the B&G agreement with the city. They send our DPW, our B&G Buildings and Grounds back to us with no sales tax relief. We were still getting the same amount of sales tax while taking on over $1 million in additional expenses from our B&G personnel, their salaries and fringe. Okay, next. In 2024, the county removes the city from their health insurance consortium. The county alleges that rising health care insurance costs due to the city's use of HRA cards to cover deductions and co-pays was the reason why the cost of the insurance for the city had went up, which could be farther from the truth. And the city manager can speak on what actually caused that.
So we had, over a 2-year period, we were treated as self-insured, and we had 2 different bills in 1 year that came in at $1.2 million that the city will get paid in premiums for the year, and the following year it increased to 1.5. So over the course of 2 years, we paid $2.7 million in additional monies for health insurance because we were being self-insured and we had to pay for those monies.
Thank you. All right, let's go to the next one about reimbursements, city reimbursement to the county. When the county put out its news release showing that the county was actually helping us and that we were $4 million to the good, the one thing they did not include in their numbers was the fact that we actually had to reimburse the county for the employees that were going over for buildings and grounds and for the Department of Public Works. And that slide shows exactly how much we paid to the county for those agreements. So through 2025, the total was just over $7 million that we had paid the county to take our employees over there in this consolidation of services with Chemung County. The other thing I want to point out, if you see in 24 and 25, that we were still paying on our buildings and grounds employees $181,415 each year to finish that agreement off for those employees going over to the county. And we still owe another 3 years, I believe, of that money. So they're going to take another $181,000 plus from us this year. Now let's look at what the county has incurred as far as shared services with DPW and B&G. They actually incurred expenses of $19,800,000, and for B&G, they incurred $6.6 million of expenses from the city by taking on our buildings and grounds. They then brought up the other two shared services that we had with them, the consolidated services, which is purchasing and IT. Purchasing's been merged with the county for 20 years, and we don't know what that agreement entailed and how that was worked out. So we did put that in our numbers, and we'll show that here next. And as of right now, we are paying for IT, even though the original agreement, the county agreed not to charge the city for IT services back in, I think it was 2012, 2013, when it came over to this county from the city. So year to date, city reimbursement to county IT has been $1.2 million. And we did not put anything in for the purchasing because we have not charged them, or they did not charge us for purchasing. If you look at county incurred expenses for that IT and for purchasing, they have spent $1.2 million in staffing for their services to the city, and for IT, they spent $1.7 million of IT expenses for the city. When you add everything up between the expenses incurred by the county and by the city, we have paid the county with loss of sales tax over $32,500,000. Call it $32,600,000. If you look at what the county has incurred as far as shared services expenses, they've incurred over $29,400,000. So what's the net of that? That loss for the city to this date is $3,179,197. That's what we have is the number that we have lost to the county to date. So, looking to the future, without change, the city will continue to suffer fiscal losses to the county exponentially year after year. It's just going to keep going up. County wants to terminate the DPW agreement now without restoring the sales tax to which original 50-50 split where we got 12.33%. The city manager had reached out to the county executive and asked him if he would do that, and he was turned down. So we're still under negotiations with that, and hopefully we can get something worked out. Returning to DPW to the city without restoring the original sales tax share will increase the fiscal distress of the city. And that was, again, pointed out in the 2017 Comptroller's report that I gave everybody. And again, looking to the future, the county will continue to accrue the extra $3 million plus in sales tax revenue from the city as time goes on each year. So it'll just keep going up. And that concludes my PowerPoint presentation. Anybody from the Budget Committee want to add anything right now?
Yes, I have a statement I put together for my constituents about the budget this year, and I will be distributing that to the media afterwards. I wanted us to deal with the misinformation that had been put forward from the county before I address broader budget issues. But I will be sharing this statement with the media.
All right. Any questions from the media? Mike?
Are you open to one-on-one interviews after the fact?
Yep, we can do interviews after. All right, with that, this will conclude the formal part of the presentation. Thank you, everybody, for being